Welcome everybody, lovely to see you all. I'm glad we're starting off slightly chaotically, because that's kind of what I'm hoping for, somewhat improvised kind of workshop. I'm even in slightly two minds about where to start. So would you like to start, the choice is with a story or with a concept. So if you would like the story, raise your hand. If you would, let's start with the story. Now, those of you, for many of you, this will be very familiar. For others of you, less so. If it's familiar, see if you can listen even more deeply to this really familiar story that may take you back to your childhood. Momo was comfortably off from now on, at least in her own estimation. She always had something to eat, sometimes more and sometimes less, depending on circumstances and on what people could spare. Volume okay? Yeah. She had a roof over her head, she had a bed to sleep in, and she could make herself a fire when it was cold. Most importantly of all, she had acquired a host of good friends. You may think that Momo had simply been fortunate to come across such friendly people. This was precisely what Momo herself thought. But it soon dawned on her neighbours that they had been no less fortunate. She became so important to them that they wondered how they had ever managed without her in the past. And the longer she stayed, the more indispensable she became. So indispensable, in fact, that their one fear was that one day she might move on. The result was that Momo received a stream of visitors. She was always to be seen with someone sitting beside her, talking earnestly, and those who needed her but couldn't come themselves would send for her instead. As for those who needed her but hadn't yet realized it, the others used to tell them, "Why not go and see Momo?" In time, these words became a stock phrase with the local inhabitants. Just as they said, "All the best," or "So long," or "Heaven only knows," so they took to saying on all sorts of occasions, "Why not go and see Momo?" In time, was Momo so incredibly bright that she always gave good advice or found the right words to console people in need of consolation, or delivered fair and far-sighted opinions on their problems? No. She was no more capable than anyone else of her age. So could she do things that put people in a good mood? Could she sing like a bird or play an instrument? Given that she lived in a kind of circus, could she dance or do acrobatics? No, wasn't any of these either. Was she a witch then? Did she know some magic spell that would drive away troubles and cares? Could she read a person's palm or foretell the future in some way? No. What Momo was better at than anyone else was listening. Anyone can listen, you may say. What's so special about that? But you'd be wrong. Very few people know how to listen properly, and Momo's way of listening was quite unique. She listened in a way that made slow people have flashes of inspiration. It wasn't that she actually said anything or asked questions that put ideas into their heads. She simply sat there and listened with the utmost attention and sympathy, fixing them with her big dark eyes, and they suddenly became aware of ideas whose awareness, whose existence they had never suspected. Momo could listen in such a way that worried and indecisive people knew their own minds from one moment to the next, or shy people suddenly felt confident and at ease, or downhearted people felt happy and hopeful. And if someone felt that his life had been an utter failure and that he himself was only one among millions of wholly unimportant people who could be replaced as easily as broken window panes, he would go and pour out his heart to Momo. And even as he spoke, he would come to realize by some mysterious means that he was absolutely wrong. That there was only one person like himself in the whole world, and that consequently he mattered in the world in his own particular way. Such was Momo's talent for listening. So, welcome to a workshop on solution-focused listening. I had a slightly, I think, wonderful image come to mind this morning as I was planning this. Because another inspiration for this was actually something Mark said years ago about, in solution focus, we listen, but we don't just listen in any way, we listen with intent. And a lot of what this workshop is about is, well, what's that intent when we're listening in a solution-focused way? So you could, the image that came to mind was, I was imagining Mark and Momo together. So what we're learning to do isn't just listening like Momo, it's also listening like Makurgo. And actually, I should probably introduce myself, shouldn't I? So my name, I've got 4 parts to this introduction. My name is Roy Marriott, first name. And so Kirsten's not here, is she? So thanks to Kirsten Deeroff, I'm a Master Certified Coach and a supervisor and trainer and mentor of Master Certified Coaches, which is great out there in the world where these certificates matter. And I love doing that training and mentoring with Solutions Academy. That's number 1. Number 2 is I don't just want to teach other people, I want to do it myself. So I'm a leadership coach specialising in working with leaders facing complexity, uncertainty and change, which doesn't narrow it down much. So also within that, I work with tech leaders because I've got a technical background. So leaders in technical organisations, leaders who are technical leaders, or both. Number 3 is a little bit more unusual. I'm Shakya Kumara, which is a Buddhist name. And Buddhist names, at least in my tradition, are given in a solution-focused way. So it celebrates a quality you've already got, that's the Kumara bit, and a quality you need to develop, which is the Shakya Kumara bit. So, yeah. Kumara means youth, qualities of enthusiasm and energy. Shakya Kumara is the prince of the Buddha's family. That's the bit that still needs developing. And fourthly, especially here, I've got this hobby, which actually also comes from Mark. Years ago, I was working with Mark and Jenny and their SF Work team, and Mark said, I've got this vision, which is we take solution focus to every part, every corner of organisational practice. And ever since, I've been coming up with different acronyms for all sorts of things. Negotiation, art, magic. iFlow, time mastery. ZPC, the zone of productive change, etc., etc., loads of them. Today, I'm going to be introducing CORE, which is actually following on from the talk I gave in Budapest in 2019, which was entitled Solution Focus Doesn't Mean Focusing on Solutions. The talk's online if you want to look at that. But basically, I've been sort of thinking, okay, so what does it mean focusing on? And that's what the CORE acronym today is going to be revealing. But before we get into any of that, I'm going to bring Shakya Kumara to the fore, and we're going to focus on focusing, because I think I had an unfair advantage when I started with Solution Focus, that I had been meditating for some years. And meditation is all about the art of gently allowing the mind to come to a focus. And when I teach mindfulness, I think it's this way, people often say, oh no, I can't meditate because my mind keeps wandering. Yeah? Anyone tried meditation and their mind keeps wandering? I want to reassure you that that is part of the process. So what we do, and we're going to do this for a few minutes practically in a moment, but this is called the cycle of meditation. So the first thing we do is we choose a focus. And if you're coaching, your focus will be your client. If you're meditating, it will probably be some sensations in your body or whatever the meditation is all about. So having chosen the focus, you then, obviously, engage with the focus. Or, let's say, listen to that focus. One can listen with all sorts of senses. You can listen in feeling, listen in seeing, listen in hearing. Anyway, you engage with the focus, and then that's when the next part of the process comes in, that your mind will wander. Now, don't worry if it doesn't. That's fine. But in my experience, that's a rare problem to have. So at some point, by some magical mystery that I've never fathomed, if you know how this happens, let me know, you'll realise that your mind has wandered. And this is the magic moment. And sometimes people squander it by going, ah, or words to that effect. Instead of that, how about, the next thing to do is to return to the focus. But how about doing it with kindness, gently, kindly, allowing the mind to return to the focus. So, we're going to do, and as with anything that any of us say up here, if this isn't right for you, do something else. But what I'm going to suggest is we just do a very gentle 5-minute body scan. So we'll just sit down, and if you wish to close your eyes, that can work quite well, although your mind might wander. You might be very much in the habit of engaging in the mental cinema with your eyes closed. So another option is simply to allow your eyes to gaze gently, sort of semi-closed. So there's something in front of you. And just noticing how your body is being supported by the ground, by the chair or the table. Feeling those sensations of support, whether it's contact with your feet, contact with your buttocks, your sitting bones, back, your thighs. Just noticing these sensations. And generally noticing how you are, how your body is, how your energy is right now as you sit here. And you may notice some sensations in your body that tell you that you're breathing. Maybe it's a movement in your belly or your chest. Maybe it's some warmth or coolness in your nostrils. And just being with these sensations, sensations of breathing in your body. Maybe you've already started to experience the cycle of meditation. Maybe your mind has already started to wander. In which case, just appreciate this moment. Appreciate your mind. Appreciate all the wonderful thoughts you've ever had. And kindly, gently, allowing your attention to come back to the sensations of breathing in your body. And if your mind wanders 1,000 times, just bring it back 1,000 times. Each time you bring your mind back, you're strengthening the muscle of focus. Unfortunately, this isn't a meditation workshop. It looks like you have a meditation workshop. But what I'd like to invite you to do now, very, very gently and steadily in your own time, is to expand your awareness. Expanding from the sensations of breathing out into other sensations in your body. And expand your attention further to what you can hear, whether it's in the room or outside the room. And when you're ready, allowing your eyes to fully open. And allow the visual world to come to you. And what I mean by that is just noticing what strikes you in terms of shape, colour, texture, light and dark. And to make a transition out of a meditative state, sometimes it can help just to stretch a little bit. Or a lot. Up to you. Oh. Good. So I'd like you now just to spend 3 minutes in groups of 3 or 4 talking to friends old or new, and listening to friends old or new, about what possible connections you can make between what you've just experienced and your practice of solution focus. In 5 minutes' time, we're going to move into an experiment, which as far as I know has never been done before, which is an experiment of listening. And for this experiment, the one thing that I don't know if we're going to have is someone to be listened to. So have a think, and the thing is it'll be listened to with everybody. So have a think, is there something that you'd like to, maybe it's not exactly a coaching topic necessarily, something you're maybe not sure, it could be a coaching topic, but you're not quite certain whether it is or not. So have a think, if you've got something like that and you'd be happy to share that and you'd love to be listened to by 4 amazing listeners, then yeah, be ready to volunteer for that. And we can, by the way, invite the video to stop for that, so it won't be recorded forever. Anyway, before we get to that...
Well, I can get started. Our team talked about a few things, which includes focusing on one thing and now. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is about cultivating this quality of kindness and curiosity. Mm-hmm. Both will require that. If I were to improvise, the third one, which we didn't talk about, is this mind wandering, keep coming back. It also cultivates a level of resilience and coming back to where you're on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Lovely. What else?
One of the things that came up here was that you said actually in the conversation it's the client that does all the work, so you don't have to be listening where you can grab things to go into or thinking about questions, and then the mere challenge is to stay with your full attention with what's happening with the client, not with the intention of trying to do something, but really remain attentive, and then that resonates with the meditation exercise.
For me, it was interesting what happened in our conversation, because you mentioned the sentence, solution focus doesn't mean focusing on solutions. And for me, it was this focus what was important. For me, it would be then the Kuchi, and then with kind of ease and curiosity going around. But with others in the group, this was not the focus, it was the solution to look for. So, and I was wondering that what difference there is ongoing, and also the word problem came up, and I had never in my meditation the word problem. I had more this curiosity, what's ongoing, and that I don't wander somewhere. I come back to the focus, meaning what is it, what is wanted. Yeah, but it was not connected with the solution, so therefore it was interesting for me. Okay, my own impression, but also what happened in our group, and what was I saw a kind of difference. Maybe there is not, but it sounded like this.
Sounds like creative difference was part of that, and we will come on to that whole topic of solution focus doesn't mean focusing on solutions in a moment. Thank you. What else?
So I think that in our group we discuss a little bit the authenticity and what does it mean. Yeah, Mark says, for instance, that when he plays a saxophone, at this very moment he is in the stance of playing a saxophone, but when he stops, there is a different quality that play a role. Yeah, and this is important to be in this moment and to feel this moment and to be present. Yeah. I also said that I had the same thought like you several years ago, that I came to the conclusion that was disappointing for me at that time, that solution-focused approach is not about solutions. And so when I asked myself, what is it for me? I mean, what is it about? For me, it was about noticing. I mean, I have chosen this word, and you were speaking about noticing, yeah? I also liked the word kindness that you have introduced, because I think this is very important in trying to organize our conversation with people. We are trying to get to certain points. Yeah, to get there, and then yes, and I think that it's very important to be kind enough to yourself and to your communication partner, not to push ourselves to this imaginary result, yeah, and to stay in the field of thinking about this, about investigating and wondering and being curious. So that is.
I love that the word curious has come up so much. Spot on.
I have another reflection. One of my passions is to ride mountain bike, and I realized that when I practice solution focus is when I'm most successful riding my bike in a very physical way. If I look where I want to go, that's where I end up. When I start looking at those rocks and roots that I don't want to hit, that's when I hit them. And doing this exercise, I felt very refreshed. Really? And I was asked, have you done meditation before? I said, no, I haven't. And now I realize that's why I feel so refreshed getting off my mountain bike. I'm actually meditating, putting my focus on where I want to go, and I'm very present in the moment.
And I'll bet you keep your eyes open for that meditation. Fantastic, thank you.
Our group talk about it in terms of actually doing meditation. It actually helps us to clear our mind. I mean, when we walk into a coaching session, like it or not, we have things that bother us in our mind. Doing this actually helps us to clear the mind. And I think I personally felt that when the eyes was closed, you do meditation, it really sharpens your hearing things, you know. It becomes clearer to us at least, or at least to me. And also my thinking is that when you close your eyes, as much as eyes don't admit, I mean, sometimes with your eyes open, when you see certain things, you get into judgment pretty quickly. You know, so that actually helps to clear the mind, getting ready for the session.
Yeah. You've alluded to two other things that I could have said around mindfulness there. The stance of not knowing, which again, so solution focus, and the last thing you said that slipped my mind. Never mind. It'll come back. What was the last thing you said? What was the last thing you said?
Yes. Yeah. I think things when you tend to judge.
Yes, the non-judgmental
Yes.
stance. Thank you. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Last word, Jonas.
Jonas. I think in the 80s there were different ideas of what solution focus could be called. The one solution focus is the one we become a habit. Another one was possibility focused, and the third one I think Steve suggested was an approach of radical acceptance. Kind of, so when we clear our mind, or if this non-judgment, I'm going like, so what's that instead? What does that allow? What does that? What can we become? What possibilities are allowed to happen right now? What might emerge? Before emergence, what might, we were in that stage. And so this, we were ready to accept, we were ready to hear, we were ready to embrace fully what's going on at that little moment of time.
Right.
So that's the connection, I think.
Lovely. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the things that could also be said that haven't been said, because unfortunately time is finite. So annoying, isn't it? So the question of what does solution focus actually mean focusing on? I'm sort of very aware this is just one answer to that question. And I was listening to Jenny on 2 nights ago and thinking, Jenny's kind of answering this question as well, herself, and also, quoting, was it Chris Iveson? So this is one angle. There are many angles. So as many of you can see this as possible. So here's a model to think about this, and then we'll experiment putting it in practice. So the model's core, so the C stands for customer for change. Customer for change. If you're not familiar with the term, someone who wants something to be different and wants to do something about it. And that's kind of like the frame for the whole thing. If you don't have a customer for change, you don't have a solution-focused conversation, I would say. The rest of it, the rest of it doesn't apply yet. You may be asking solution-focused questions, but unless you've got a customer for change, it's not a solution-focused conversation. And even if you're not asking solution-focused questions, you may still be having a solution-focused conversation. That is a really bad way to... No. Well, it's not. It's meant to be a star. For some reason, my brain failed when I did that. You get the idea. Let's have another couple of angles here. You get the idea. It's a star. Sorry?
It's a Christmas tree.
It's a Christmas tree. All right. It's meant to be up in the sky. So if a Christmas tree in the sky with lights on floats your boat, go for it. Anyway, so can anyone guess what the O stands for? I didn't make this up.
Orientation.
Orientation, yes, I like it. Maybe I like that even more than what?
Observation. Observation.
That I also like, but that probably applies to the whole thing. The word I had in mind. Go on.
Outcome.
Yes, that is the word I had in mind. Outcome. But I really like the orientation. Thank you. I love doing this because it adds to the richness to the model. Because the reason why that should be a star is that it's like a North Star. It's like setting a direction. So orientation is a really good way of thinking about the purpose of outcome and the difference between that and a goal. So this is UI. This is the Albert model, for those of you who are familiar. So this is where we are right now. This is where we're aiming to get to. This, which is meant to be more wedge-shaped, this is all of the experience from the past, from ourselves, from everybody else. This is the resources that we might draw on in order to move in the direction, or in fact we have already drawn on, and we may subsequently draw on in order to move in the direction of the outcome. And then, in terms of small steps progress, because we're working, and I'm making an assumption here that if we're using solution focus, we're working in a world of complexity rather than complication. So we cannot know what is going to happen. So this is a small step experiment. It's something we're going to try to see what happens as a result of it. So, I imagine most of this is familiar to most of us. All I'm doing is pulling it together. And to your point, there's a whole dimension. Everything within the frame, it's all about observations. It's all about noticing specific tiny details. So far, it's very familiar, but sort of looking at it in a slightly different way. Rather than as a tool to generate questions, think of this as simply a tool for what to listen out for. So what we're going to do is, like I say, I'm hoping we're going to have a volunteer of someone who's ready to be listened to. And we'll have 4 people volunteering to listen to them in a sort of fishbowl kind of thing. So the first person will listen out for any kind of tiny signs that this person might be in some sense a customer for change, that they might want something to be different. There might be something that they want to be different. Then we'll have someone who is listening out for outcome or orientation. Someone who's listening for what the person wants. Any kind of details that might hint about that. And you can probably guess the rest. Third person is listening out for resources, listening out for things that might have worked in the past that this person talks about. And then finally, someone listening out for anything, any kind of hints that this person might have an intention of something they will do, something they will try and experiment with in order to move forward with this situation. And the way it's going to work is, actually, let's set the chairs up. So we've got one person listening. I'm going to need volunteers before I set the chair. Okay, so imagine that the remaining chairs are around here in a circle. And what will happen is the person sitting here will simply start talking about this thing that's in some way bothering them. And then when one of the four people here hears something that sort of fits in their area, just gently raise their hand. And when the person is ready, and I'd request the person here does that sort of reasonably soon, then there's a response. And if there's more than one hand up, the person here can choose who they would like. And what will happen then is that the person, the C, O, R or E person, will simply echo back. So Mark's really getting the spotlight here. So Mark talks about amplifying. So what's happening? We're not asking questions. So it's not the job to ask questions, people here. It's merely to reflect back what you've heard, maybe in a sort of, did I hear? Maybe with a rising tone that indicates you're interested to hear more, but just to reflect back, to amplify, and then see how the person responds. There's a fundamental tension here in solution-focused practice, that we're absolutely doing that listening from the heart, and there's an element of listening with some kind of intention, listening out for particular things. We will reflect certain things more than we'll reflect others. So it's maybe more like a bias in what we listen out for and what we reflect. So I'd like to invite us to experiment with this in groups of 4, maybe groups of people you weren't working with earlier, and one person starts off talking and maybe says a little bit about what they experience as being listened to. Another person does the listening, really staying present, listening out for the person and reflecting the words and reflecting from the heart. And the other 2 people in the group are observers, just noticing how that happens, and if there's a need for support within that, they can offer that as well. Just love to hear your reflections on how you got on in your smaller groups and how you managed. I think, Christiane, I really appreciated what you said, because it just helped to really highlight, for me at least, hopefully for all of us, that we've got this creative tension in our practice between really being present and really taking the person in, and having this solution focus orientation in the way that we're listening. So I'm curious, what did you learn? What did you discover in the practice that you just did in the small groups?
Yeah, I can start. Sure. Listen to this too. Not experimenting. They didn't know really what direction to take the whole thing and so on, and where to catch on. So they
tried some of the outcome thing and so on, but then I saw, for example, some words that they said, some that were repeated and some not, and found a lot of engagement here, but a lot of the hesitation I saw on both sides actually, which way, because we were trying to go in some format to normal, but when they hit some of the four cornerstones, whatever, something happened. I saw him do that, but some hesitation from the reflector.
Right, good.
But small steps there as well.
So listening and lots of things and maybe not being quite sure what to reflect back, but then sometimes hitting on something that
also
reflects back.
Hard for me to, as an observer, it was difficult because the situation was there to me. Yeah, it did.
Thank you, Jan. Hello.
I have been listened to, and I can say that I really felt listened to because of my own words were used by the ones who are really listening to me.
Right.
And I think that it's very important, and there was no interpretation whatsoever from anybody who was thinking. They were listening and giving my own words back. And so I felt listened to.
Listened to by having own words.
My own words, really my own words.
I think a very big part of feeling listened to, and what maybe made this experiment struggle a bit, is the nonverbal thing that is happening between two people outside. And that is a bit struggling when it's trying to be happening between 1 to 4. So and that nonverbal thing is telling me a lot about what way I'm being listened to and see.
But I recognized I was coaching or listening. Yeah, listening. Yeah, but what was more important for me, I let go all of this model and thinking of outcome, resources, and so on. The first thing what I wanted to have with my counterpart was connection. Yeah, and it started that he said, this is my name, what's your name? Yeah, so, and this was already great that we had known our names, and I had a counterpart working a lot with the body. Yeah, so, and I felt it really in my body and was mirroring it. So there were different kind of aspects, when you were talking about this, how this connection is coming, And nevertheless, then I tried to use the words, what he was using, to explore together, then the coaching part will come in. But it was about connection because of this experience, what I have observed with you, Shelley. I was thinking of what can I do when I'm in a coaching situation and someone did not feel heard. Yeah, so how can I create connection? And this was an experiment for me, and how helpful it was working.
Lovely. So I'm hearing that the listening here you were talking about was at all levels, not just verbally.
I was the client, and I really enjoyed that there was no coaching agreement. I can just talk. And this reminds me of a story. I had a coaching conversation. I actually was glad to see something like this. And I think I asked one question. The client said immediately, I don't need a coaching. I need somebody who listens to me.
You first,
I find that these 3 colleagues means good listener. And good listener makes me, I have a lot of small steps. I appreciate it.
Yeah, when I was listening to the conversation in our group, I was thinking about co-listening, because I think that the person who speaks also listens to themselves. And so this is a kind of act of co-listening rather than listening. Also, I don't know, but I was thinking about some of you know that I'm from Ukraine, so we have to listen to many very dramatic stories during even during the life, yeah. And there is one taboo that you never do. You never say, "I understand you," because you never understand. You do not have the experience of this person. And everything you can do, you can just listen as well as you can do that, yeah. And also, when we discuss this with people, we always say, if you fail, do not be kind to yourself, yeah? Because it's not necessary that you will feel that you are heard or you listen very well. This person has a totally different experience. So I think that's also important, coming back to this word, which is important for me today, kindness, being kind.
Absolutely, you know.
Because we never understand and we always misunderstand each other, you know.
We're at time. Shall we finish with the word kindness? Because I think that's at the heart of it all.